What is going on, Governors? Chisgule here, and today we're going to spectate the Ark of Osiris in Kingdom 53. That's right, we're chilling in 53, visiting with our friends in the Alliance ZoO. We're going to check out their power levels in a bit, but first, holy moly, the pregame in the chat was just completely bananas. Shout out to Cabo, Infamous, Frank, Carlos, Cho Gaming, Daniel, the Two Full, Nuno, Yusuf, Han22, Groggy, Gamer 007, Charles, Karashine. Holy moly, a lot of people in the chat, and it is so good to see you all here. Now, before we load into this Ark of Osiris, let's just get a look at the Alliance members. Check out the roster a little bit here. I see 1, 2, 3 T5s so far. Let's see if there's any for 4, 5 T5s in this alliance. And I think this matchup's going to be really interesting. The alliance we're spectating, and we'll try to stay fairly neutral, but the alliance we're spectating and sort of cheering on is down over, I think, 100 million power, which is pretty significant. Let me pull up the screenshot real quick. It's 927 million power to 781 million power. We're observing the side with 781 million power. So that is going to be a tough matchup, but bigger deltas have not made the difference. So I think they could pull it off if they've got a solid strategy, and I hope that they do. Georgie, hello from Singapore. Lahatan Gaming, 6 a.m. for you. Wow, that's early for you. It's late here. Whoo, it's late here. Carmen, hey Chisgule, your videos have helped my gameplay tremendously. First time chatting. Thanks for all your help. You are very welcome, my friend. Thanks for being here. You should totally be active in the chat. We've got a little bit of time to answer your questions now. This match kicks off in just 2 minutes. At the start of the match, we'll have an opportunity to really answer questions, hang out, all that sort of fun stuff. Once the match is in the mix, then we'll be commenting and focus solely on the match. Toward the end, we'll have a chance to answer some questions again. And if the match looks decisive, we may end the stream a little bit early just because it's so darn late here. Jalal says, yo, man, what's up? Remember my mail I sent you in game? What's going on? Killing Joy. Love the help. Learned a lot. You're very, very welcome. Hello, Reese. We've got just under 1 minute and 30 seconds before we get this thing fired up, and I'm pretty darn pumped. I am Cookie. What happened to the Games of Thrones Winter is Coming game? I tried it out. Had a lot of fun with it. I think it's a pretty cool game. It's a browser game. Different cup of tea. Honestly, I just don't have the time for 2 games to play obsessively, and I don't play games casually, so. Okay, what do we got here? Arachnov for PvP mode, Max Minamoto, would you prefer cavalry build or nuker build? Start with the skill tree, in my opinion. Go into the cavalry tree to pick up the rage generation and charge. From there, you'll be in a really good place. Those coming in and saying, good luck, this is not my Ark of Osiris, so send that good luck, and I'll do the same on over to our friends in ZoO, who we are going to be spectating today. This match fires up in less than 22 seconds. We counted 5 T5 players in the roster. Pretty spicy roster. I don't know if all of them are signed up for Ark. Probably not. It's hard to coordinate everybody all at the same time. How do you donate, Cameron, without paying monthly? Great question. Glad that you asked. What a setup. Let me pop into this Ark of Osiris. So if you do a super chat, it's going to appear up in the center over here. If you use the link in the description to donate, it's going to show up off to the side over here toward my T5 troop progress, also above my head, and it'll fill up that sweet, sweet progress bar for T5s. All right, so now we get a look at what is going on in this match, specifically who's loading in. Looks like the alliance leader for the opposing side hasn't come in yet. Let's start to spectate the power levels. So far, 0 T5s that I see. Okay, 1, 2, 3, Four, four T5s on the opposing side. Let's go check out ZoO. What do they have? Cruising in, leader present, Groggy 1, 2, 2, 3, 3 T5s. I mean, this is a match. This is a match. This is going to come down to the number of players that have come to play and the strategies that are deployed. My hope is that as the underdog, they play a slightly more conservative strategy, focusing their efforts onto the high-scoring objectives, including the altars and the Ark of Osiris. You only have to win by 1 point to win the Ark of Osiris, and if you are the underdog, you should not be looking for a big victory. You should be looking for a solid, clean margin that is just a small amount above what your opponent has. That said, something we have been seeing a lot of recently in the Ark of Osiris, especially in the start of the match, is people rushing to rally the far side of the opposing map, hunting these obelisks with I really think is a fool's errand. You can win. I'm not saying it's a tactic that doesn't work. I'm saying it's a tactic that is easy to counter relative to other strategies that you can use. Cameron rocking the super chat with a $5 donation. Keep the videos coming. You're awesome. No, you're awesome. Thanks for the donation. Really appreciate it. We've got 1 minute left till this thing kicks off. I'm hoping that this map fills in a little bit here. We're missing, I think, quite a few players on the side of red. And how are we looking on the side of blue? About the same gap in terms of number of players that are missing. And the alliance leader, that's one more T5 for the folks in blue. This is a pretty major power disparity. That one player bringing, a cool $120 mil to the fight here. Holy moly, that is a lot of power. That's a lot of power. Now, only about 49 million power comes from structures and tech, which means that all the rest of that is troops, which is pretty darn sick. Xavier is asking if I plan to play other games. I do at some point, but right now we're gosh darn obsessed with Ark of Osiris and with Rise of Kingdoms. It looks like we've got 26 players for MFLD, Misfits Lion Division, and 23 players for ZoO. Being down 7 players is not amazing when you're already the underdog. And, getting that 30 out of 30, I almost don't care what happens in the match as long as we got our 30 out of 30, if that makes sense. Like, we'll learn, we'll get better, but, show up for your teammates, So here we go, folks spreading out, fanning across the map, heading to the outposts, which is awesome, looking good. And also the obelisks. That's what we want to see widespread across the map, claiming these objectives early, using T1 calves optimally. And what we should see is Groggy's in the lead, which makes sense. The leader of the alliance is the most forward of all the players in the Ark of Osiris, so they, by all means, should be one of the players snapping an obelisk, which is what we see happening here. For those of you who haven't checked out Ark recently, there's a lot of new features, such as this button in the upper left that takes us right to the location of the Ark of Osiris. Love the heck out of that new feature. And let's just scope out what's going on the blue side. They are similarly fanning out across the map, going for those objectives, starting some early caravan farming, which I think is a solid play. I thought I saw someone going to that caravan. Maybe they're not anymore. Okay, I take back the statement about, oh yeah, there it is. We see some caravan action. Early caravan action is solid because you can score a lot of points there. Kind of incredible that it looks like a proper army here is going just about as fast as this T1 army. Pretty funny. They should have optimally the alliance leaders tier 1 cavalry yoinking, and that I think is what we just saw. Those structures being capped at about the same time would say that that is what happened. Although red has one additional structure, it's worth calling attention to the fact that you don't actually have to hang out in these structures for them to convert to your side. You just have to make sure an enemy doesn't get into them. So capping it and then moving on with life, going on to the next objective is a very, very solid play. And red starting to get a little bit of an early lead on the structure game. Although, this guy is looking sort of far away. He's coming up with his, looks like Lancelot in the lead, and those are some horsemen in tow. Horsemen, the tier 1 of cavalry being the fastest unit you have available to you in Rise of Kingdoms. That is the one you want to use. Interestingly, this outpost Not captured. Looks like this player could just yoink to the left for a second, or this one. Just a little knock over to the left, step in there, and then they could be on their way. And what I do like, however, is that they are pushing up. And the reason you want to be pushing up here is that you have only 120 seconds from this point in the game before these structures open up, and you want to be next to them, ready to cap them the second that becomes available to you so you can get those points on the scoreboard sooner. Let's cruise through some of the questions while this map starts to heat up a little bit. Do I plan to upload other video games? Probably will at some point. Cameron, can you tell? How can I tell they're T5? I'm looking at their power level, my friend. It's an educated guess based on power. It'd be shocked to have that many T4s. To have used that many speed-ups on T4s would be kind of tragic. Mutz, what game did I play before Rock? I was playing Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. Turn-based squad game. Turn-based squad game. 50 plus million power. It's always T5. That is true. See Sanity, what is going on, my friend? We see here the blue side has captured all of the objectives that are capturable, as has now red. As has now red, and what I want to see is every single one of these structures that is red side. They've got a minute to get to the Shrine of Life. Looks like they're using this caravan as the mechanism to get there. I see the Desert Altar, nobody going there. I'd like to see a little more action and some forward posture from the folks in blue. These are, I believe, some T5s marching down the center. Where are they going? Oh no, pressure on the obelisk. This obelisk is capping in 1 minute and 30 seconds, and these troops have a 1-minute-and-30-second journey. That means that we need to see some serious defense get into this structure in order to battle what looks like it's going to be an early T5 swarm, and we do see Groggy on his way over. He will likely be made the captain of that structure, and that defense will go very, very well for the folks in red, especially if they start to port in their cities, which I think will be really, really solid as a strategy. With that said, we see some solid positioning now with 5 seconds before these structures open up, which is excellent. Right-hand side on the spot. Bada boom. They're going to step into those, get those points rolling. Blue also going to start to capitalize on that, but not fully, also missing the opportunity to have gotten some early points here. Bada boom, Shrine of Life captured. So it looks like blue is more on the game than red, and oh no. This altar that we would love to see in the hands of red now being contested by blue. That means we have a 3-minute window to get into this structure. Otherwise, they're going to get the initial capture points, which is a solid 750, and that is a lot of points, $1.50 per minute for continuous occupation after that point. That said, this early pressure onto the obelisk, which I don't think is a good tactic, may be a sufficient strategy when you've got a 120 million power player leading the charge. They're not worried about losing a few troops, and it looks like they are actually diverting now to attack the armies in the open field, which is a very, very solid strategy. And oh my goodness, there's a rally coming in as well. That said, ZoO obelisk swapping over. Now we should see a swarm of ZoO cities teleport forward to defend this objective against a rally at the start of this match. This is an aggressive Ark of Osiris. The aggressors know they're in that role, and they are putting ZoO onto the back foot at the start, or at least they're going to try to. We see some open field combat. I would not bother attacking the rally. That is noble of this T5 player to do, and maybe they're willing to spend the speed ups to make that work, and they probably already got troops defending the structure, and now you're about to see the reason why I think this is a fool's errand to rock a rally onto an obelisk at the start of the battle. Because this rally has no great mechanism for getting support. It is far, far away from where the cities are for the folks in blue. And now you can see here these T5 player doing work on the rally, and the obelisk probably going to get reinforced. There it is. You can keep reinforcing that. Folks can teleport forward as well to further defend it. I think this is going to be a solid defense and score a lot of kills for the folks in red. That said, more armies pouring in from the T5 player, who is very much trying to be in the driver's seat for controlling this obelisk at the start of the battle. They're going to rock a swarm tactic to try to give the rally the oomph it needs, but I think that's not going to be adequate. It's too little too late, but it may not even matter because that forward pressure is enabling them to score the initial first occupation points from the Desert Altar, and that is going to be a savage blow to the scoreboard at the start of this game. Meanwhile, Shrine of Life also under contention, using this offensive maneuver to try to gain ground and run a distraction, and honestly, it is working. That said, I'm a little surprised more red cities haven't poured it in, but perhaps they're planning to go all in on the right side of the map. Let's get a quick look over there to see if that is the case. 1, 2, 3, 4 cities ported in. Okay, there's a possible 10 that could have ported at this point. Meanwhile, Swarm Attack continuing to go in on the obelisk, but man, Shrine of Life captured for the folks in blue. That early pressure has done the thing it needed to do, but with that said, do we have a rally on the right-hand side? We do. Rally going in on the Desert Altar. That's the right objective, in my opinion, to be rallying at this juncture, if, that is, they had already held on to the altar that was on their side of the map. That said, this rally led by Groggy looks like it is going to be successful. It may be successful snagging this Desert Altar right out of the hands of blue. They've already got the initial capture points, but it's going to set them back a little bit. It's going to knock down that clock for scoring incremental points. The points per minute is going to go down for 3 minutes. They're going to hang on to this, denying points from the enemy and hopefully capping some points for themselves. That said, one more city porting in to help defend. Fire Smurf is here, never fear. He is likely going to step into this obelisk or also battle from the outside if he's already inside of it, or the obelisk is capped out for occupants. What I'd love to see is a few more folks porting into the red side. They can pretty much ignore the Shrine of Life. I would rally hard on this Desert Altar, and of course, if you're on the blue side, you should reinforce this max, 100% full reinforcements to that structure. That said, we've only got 2 minutes, 30 seconds till the Temple of Osiris opens, and I just want to take a look at the number of players in the match. It's 28 versus 25. If ZoO had its full complement, 5 more players, you could be controlling this temple area. Every player really matters in the Ark of Osiris, and that is something I really like about that event. That said, rally in on Shrine of War. A lot of damage going in, although I suppose not as much as it could be. We've got a Richard leading the rally, and certainly some T5s in that rally. Doesn't look like a full rally to me, but reinforcements here from Logan going to fill that rally right back up, and this Shrine of War is going to be in serious trouble if reinforcements don't arrive. That said, Shrine of Life seeing action, not the structure I would be paying attention to were I in the position of ZoO, but that said, looks like there's some serious swarming going on, so ZoO is going to get some value, it looks like, as blue swarms their rally, which is probably not the play I will be making. Zipping back down to the Shrine of War, let's get a look at how this is going. That rally is looking mighty strong. Reinforcements have to come to the Shrine of War if they want to keep it, and I really do think they would optimally like to keep this structure. Between disrupting the enemy's Shrine of Life and having a guaranteed hold on this Shrine of War, I feel like holding the Shrine of War might have been the better play, but you know what? That rally was launched long before they might have seen this rally was on its way over here. Whew. Let's get a look at the other side of the map. Hopefully they've got a rally forming. To do that, though, they're going to need a few more people to teleport forward. Oh, just kidding. There it is. There it is. Rally in on the Shrine of Life. Perhaps what they're trying to do by capturing the Shrine of Life in the early part of the game is to enable their ability to get a lot of healing done early. That said, I still think the better objective is the altar for those sweet, sweet points. I'm all about the points in the Ark of Osiris. That is what determines the winner or the loser. And that is my Captain Obvious statement for the evening. That said, I'm just getting a chance to glance up at the chat. Vish saying I should be a professional Rise of Kingdoms commentator. I wouldn't be opposed. Lilith? Profesh? We could do that. Who do I think will win? Oh, my friends, it is way too early to say who the winner of this Ark of Osiris will be. I will say this. The folks in blue have a pretty substantial power edge, so our friends in red are the underdogs, and it looks like they are fighting hard to gain control over the structures on the right-hand side of the map, and blue noticing that 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 cities from blue ported in to the right side of the map. Meanwhile, left side of the map, 3 cities. And I think this is the problem with not having ported an equal number of cities to each side at the start of the match, is that blue can see they don't need to be on the left-hand side of the map, especially with the success of their early rush left side. So they're focusing right side, and I think that's going to go really well for them. That said, red doing work by the Ark of Osiris, clearing out the opposing forces, and my goodness, they've got a clear runway to bring the Ark of Osiris back to a structure, which, by the way, will tie the match. My friends, this is far from over. In fact, the fun is just beginning. That said, these rallies looking mighty even. If only some reinforcements could make their way to the Shrine of War, our friends at ZoO could hang on to this thing and do serious work, enjoying a solid 10% extra stats, 5 offense, 5 defense. That said, blue putting real commitment to this rally, more armies coming to reinforce. Only one of these 2 will actually potentially get into the rally. Oh no, 0 of those can get into the rally because it's the rally leader who's sending the reinforcements. It looks like they're going to switch to a swarm tactic. This is the moment, by the way, where reinforcements to that Shrine of War would be extra impactful because it would get serious damage done. And oh boy, it looks like we might have a swarm coming in to this desert altar. They're already positioning around the darn thing. This could get pretty spicy pretty quickly, and you can inflict a lot of serious wounds, assuming that they've still got a high troop count in that desert altar, and for their sakes, I hope that they do. Meanwhile, some amount of blue disruption, city attacking going on by the obelisk. I don't think that's a particularly intelligent play, but it is going to be disruptive and distracting for our friends in red. And there's the conversion, swarm attack effective, sending all those armies with a quick trip back to their homes. They're now not only down some number of players and power, but they're also down some amount of buffs as well, which is significant. And here's the swarm attack going in on the desert altar. Woo! There must not have been many troops left in there because it is getting melted down awfully quickly. Perhaps it's the wrong commander leading that garrison. And we see now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 armies, likely the remnants of the rally, with no other reinforcements able to arrive to the structure to reinforce it. They are sent with a speedy trip back to town, and from here, red is in a fairly precarious position. What Groggy might consider doing at this moment is to actually step into this caravan and battle this player, because if this player pays attention... I see what they're doing. What the player is doing is saying, rather than kill Groggy, which he could do, oh, there it is. So, Groggy, if you're listening, buddy, step into the caravan, drop the Ark of Osiris. That's the only way you can drop it. Then battle him in the open field. But instead, this guy is going to get the full 200% extra damage in on this T5. And even though the T5 is tanky, 200% extra damage is going to be pretty tough to deal with. Groggy soldiering through. Can he make it to the outpost? I am surprised he's gotten as far as he has. Richard I slowing his march speed. Groggy turning to fight because now those other armies on his back. He just can't quite take the damage. He's not quite going to make it to the structure. And there it is. He falls just in front of that structure. I think if he had stepped into the caravan instead, battled in the open field, he would have been able to handle that. But that said, he's a T5 player, my friends. He's looking at probably 5 marches simultaneously in 5 different positions. It's hard to keep track of all that stuff, especially when the coast looks so darn clear earlier. So now we've got a crucial fight over this Ark of Osiris, and I will say that, if you are in red, there's 2 things you got to be doing now. You've got to both capture the Ark of Osiris, which, hey, look, it's in a really good position for you at this stage, while launching a successful rally onto an enemy target. Now, what should that enemy target be? In my opinion, it's really got to be the altar. The altar is what you need. That's the breadwinner. That is where the points come from. That said, going for the Shrine of Life is going to give them some healing, pretty substantial to get that 25% healing speed boost. I think it's a pretty big deal. And I think that with the volume of troops that are here, that might be successful. That said, at what cost will that come? Blue is now taking the Ark of Osiris, marching it back up the center of the field. This player, ZoO, needs to go for the carrier, ignoring all other players, because that carrier is going to take a solid 200% extra damage, and they are going to melt. I'm honestly eager to see that melting happen, which is going to start hopefully any second if they switch targets. But if they don't, there's going to be a real missed opportunity here to melt a carrier, and they're not hitting the target. They must be looking somewhere else on the map. Oh no. Oh no, Sugar Cookie turns around to battle them as well, and holy moly, the melting is real. Are there T5s? I don't see T5s. What is happening here? Whew. Powerful troops doing work in the Ark of Osiris, the carrier cruising along, waving goodbye, with nobody else in sight to contest it. Ooh, delolly, that is a tough position to be in. Sky Altar getting rallied at the same time. T5 at the helm of that rally. You can see the gold. You can see that gold. Swarm attack now supporting the rally. This altar is in trouble. And you know, this would have been a very tough fight for our friends in red to win at over like 150 million power differential. That's a pretty tough pill to swallow. They are fighting nobly, but in trouble in this Ark of Osiris, getting some momentum value from the fact that there's a swarm attack hitting here. Whew. It looks like this altar is going to convert over, and all of the major point scoring objectives are going to be in the hands of blue. If there is not some rallies coming in real soon to address this, if there is not some pressure on this carrier, then this is going to go very, very quickly as a landslide in favor of the folks in blue. We're going to watch this carrier. Actually, we're going to watch this combat. Okay. I thought there was combat. Looks like it has just ended. Groggy hanging out by the Shrine of War. One other army here as well. Time to take a step back, assess the battlefield, and get those rallies headed to the right places. It looks like we've got a bunch of folks ported forward here. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Now with one more player porting forward, rallies need to go in, hitting those objectives. It's 29 players versus 27. I mean, look, it's still anybody's game, but some evasive maneuvers really need to move in right about now to make the difference. If you had some cavalry hunting down this very, very slow infantry march, I think you might be able to still get them, assuming that your march toward them is uninterrupted. So there's still an opportunity here to do that, but blue being very aggressive, forcing the folks in red to be a little bit more on the back foot. Let's follow this carrier. Oh no, carrier. Forget the carrier. We've got a rally to watch. Now, this is what I want to see. Rally in on an altar. Groggy at the helm. Cavalry leading the charge. This altar is going to get reinforced. I honestly think that rather than rallying this altar, it might be more efficient to rally the altar that's closer to your side of the map, but on the bottom part of the map, rather than going for the altar that is easiest for the enemy to support. In fact, it's entirely possible that that bottom left altar is not supported by many troops at all. It might even be empty. Worth a scout to see. Worth a scout to see. Let's get a look at the chat while this rally hits. Second time doing Ark tomorrow. Been watching your videos. Good luck, Mutts92, in your Ark. Deve, well, we never know. Maybe in the future there'll be tournaments like Clash of Clans. I suspect that Ark of Osiris is only going to become more like an esport over time, recognizing that there are a lot of elements of this game that are pay to win. I still think there's a lot of really cool stuff they could do to make this a hyper-competitive, super interesting event to cast and watch, and it already really is. Oh, Honey Badger doing work on the Shrine of War. I love that they're getting the Shrine of War. The structure I really think they need to be hunting down is the altars. Now, why is it that they might not be hunting the altars? We can give a few reasons for that. One might simply be that the enemy realizes the altars are super important and they're very, very reinforced. If that's the case, then yeah, I get the idea that maybe we rally the structures that are easier to capture. That said, free trip for the Geo, bringing the Ark of Osiris back to the outpost with no one in sight to contest him. It is going to put Blue very, very far ahead and to a point where they might be uncatchable. A solid 10k plus lead will be in their hands after that Ark of Osiris converts. Meanwhile, yet another rally coming in. Looks like it is a disciplined group bringing in this rally, full cavalry with some T5 in the mix on their way to the ZoO obelisk. Is this obelisk defended at all right now? I don't know. I don't know if there's defense in here, or certainly if there's enough defense in here to hold back these invaders. Oh boy. Ooh. Question in the chat, what's your advice on a dictator king? That is a tough situation to deal with. That is a tough situation to deal with. How do we address that? It looks like, we do have some adequate defense or a smaller sized offense bring in their attack. Oh no. I mean, I thought Red was winning the start of that defense, but those cavalry just doing serious work. Looks like Mina Tsao at the helm here. Serious work on this obelisk, and they're going to take it. They're going to take it. There's only 4 outposts here to potentially even reinforce it, and they might be other places on the map. Uh-oh. Fire Smurf must already be in the obelisk, sending 2 marches to try to smash into this rally, but a rally is a tough cookie, and there they go, back to their towns, confirming for us, by the way, Papa Smurf likely was the captain defending that structure. If he was, I kind of wonder, well, I don't know if we can confirm that. Perhaps ZoO was at the helm there. I did not see. In the meantime, a lot of combat on the far side of the map. Solo attacker making their way in on the Shrine of War and rally going in on the Sky Altar. Now, this is the objective I want to see our friends from ZoO capturing. This is what I want to see. Gotta hold the altars at this point. And honestly, at this point, to win the match, they've got to capture 3 altars, like now, and carry all of the remaining Arks of Osiris to win the match. It's possible you'd even have to get 4 altars, all 4, to win from this position, which is a pretty tough place to be. That said, reinforcements just arrived in the form of T5 at the Sky Altar. Doesn't look like the captain swapped, which is a little surprising. Maybe there was already T5 there, and this rally is still doing work, likely to take out the defenders. Bada boom. Altar converts over to the folks from ZoO. Those armies sent scurrying back to their cities. Meanwhile, some amount of open field combat? No, that's not open field combat. That's a rally getting attacked by a T4 player. Interesting choice. The rally is being softened up before it hits this desert altar, and I love the cadence. Rally, 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 rolling on the right-hand side of the map. It's just not seeming to be enough against the numbers that they're up against here. That said, Minamoto rocking big skill attacks on this desert altar, doing some serious damage, 27k plus, and hey, they are winning this contest. Meanwhile, to try to mitigate that, the folks in blue are swarming on the rally. That comes in a high cost in terms of injuries, but at this point, they've got a point lead. They really don't care about the injuries. All they care about is the points. Whew. You can see here Groggy coming in with his infantry to support the action, trying to help out. Unfortunately, what he's got there is a infantry unit, and I don't know that it's got AoE. It's probably Richard and Charles Martel together, if I had to guess. Some amount of AoE would come in the form from the attack reduction from Richard I, and we see that's the case because we saw the arc attack available, and we didn't see any damage come from that. So Groggy doing some work on the folks that are at the rally, but Rally is going to get knocked down simply from the volume of players they have on the battlefield. Hey, looks like euros? Is that euros? Donation coming in from Zimbo MCD. Thank you, my friend, for the super chat. Much appreciated. Really appreciate your support this evening. Man, Rally knocked down. Groggy heading back with his infantry, and I'll point out that this is the challenge with infantry. He probably has an expertise Martel, which is why he can go so darn quick, even with those T5s. But otherwise, without the expertise skill of Martel, which gives a 20% movement speed boost, infantry are too slow to use in the open field. So I'm guessing he's got that expertise skill because he is really hauling it for having T5s. That said, Sky Altar about to finally convert, bringing points back to our friends in red, but the gap is widening. How do I know the gap is widening? 850 points per minute for the folks in blue and 80 points per minute for the folks in red. This gap may just be too large to beat. Even with the boost in points per minute, now up to a solid 250 for our friends in red. Pretty soon, it's time to sort of shift gears and head toward just kind of getting as many individual contribution points as you can. That said, I think the way you do that is not far off from how you would try to win the match as well, joining rallies and trying to capture some of these objectives. That said, a little bit of swarming going on, a little bit of solo attacking by this outpost of Set. You know, honestly, the amount of points you get from an individual outpost is not that big a deal. So I'm not too worried about missing this outpost. In fact, I see a scout going in. I would more or less ignore this outpost at this point. You really need to be headed to the other objectives, and that is what they are doing. Yet another rally going in, pardon me, on the Shrine of Life. I'm still left wondering why it is they're not hitting the Desert Altar. Perhaps they see a T5 captain at the helm and are saying, you know what, I don't want to deal with that. And I don't blame them. It looks like this was a calculated strike because so far so good. It looks like they may win this contest for the Shrine of Life with the intent perhaps of then using a bunch of healing speed ups. That said, I don't know if I would be spending healing speed-ups at this point in the match. The point disparity is just too large. Lahattan Gaming saying, looks like Last Swagger might be streaming this arc from the other side of the battlefield. That is an awesome coincidence. I wish I could say we planned it, but we did not. Whew. This rally looking spicy, but getting beat down by a swarm. 2 Richards and now another T5 player piling on, doing work on this rally. That is tough. That is a tough situation. I just want to point out that AoE damage in the Ark of Osiris is absolutely freaking bananas. Can you imagine if this rally attack had an expertise Yisong Ye? In fact, drop an expertise Yisong Ye into any of these rally attacks, and OMFG would the damage be absolutely bonkers. Bonkers. I want you to watch the remainder of the fights in this Ark of Osiris with that thought in mind. What if Yisong Ye was here with his expertise skill? His expertise skill converts that pie-shaped arc to be a full circle around his army, which is absolutely insane. By the way, for some reason, when I first saw that Yisong Ye had an expertise skill that was a circle, I thought that it was like a circle centered around the enemy, but it's a circle centered around your army, which is in some ways better, in some ways worse. I think overall it's better. Meanwhile, I had thought that this was going to be a successful rally on the Shrine of Life. Instead, the T5s in overwhelming numbers from the side of blue doing serious work on that rally, on those armies. And this rally is getting into a tough spot. Let's cruise to a different part of the map to see what's cooking. We've got another rally. Honey Badger likely to capture the Shrine of War. That is strong. And hey, conversion. Desert Altar swapping over. Altars are what need to change hands, so that is pretty solid. Meanwhile, whoo, spicy, spicy, spicy. We've got a full swarm with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 armies. Wow, and it's working. Every army that adds on does, I believe, a 2% additional damage boost to everyone that's attending. That's what the surrounded bonus does. I think it's 2%. Maybe it's 3%. The more surrounded you are, the more damage you take, which is pretty logical. Meanwhile, Rally hitting the tail end, likely to convert over any second, and there you have it. Okay. That structure is converted over. Meanwhile, Danger Zone. This obelisk is still in contention, which means that in a minute, I expect blue will be teleporting over. And that is going to be very difficult to deal with because only a small number of players ported over to this side of the map. It is particularly vulnerable, so it's not too surprising that this obelisk has been in contention. Not too surprising. All right, zooming out a little bit, Ark of Osiris captured yet again, the gap widening. And my friends, this, I think, is the point where the fat lady is singing at full tune. For the folks in red, fighting valiantly from a position of pretty substantial disadvantage, I'd say very well done. The only tweaks I would perhaps make to the strategy, and I don't have the full picture, so this is not even fair as an assessment for me to make, would be to focus the attention on the altars, specifically the altars closest to where you're at, and given that you had a power disadvantage, to split a little more evenly across the two sides. That said, I like the gamble that they took. I think the gamble that they took here was they basically said, instead of playing to not lose, let's play to win. And to play to win, we have to take a risk. The risk we have to take is to make an assumption that we can send fewer players to one side and hold it while pushing hard on the other side. And I do like that as a strategy. I think that's a solid way to go. It turns out that blue happened to pressure super hard on the side that they were going soft on, assuming that was what they were trying to do, which, it was worth taking the 5 or 10% chance that you get a big win with the strategy they took, then kind of an all but guaranteed chance that you have a mediocre result splitting up more evenly. So I can see the virtues of running that style of strategy as well, if that is in fact the strategy they were running. That said, I love watching rallies. We've got yet another rally coming in on the Sky Altar. Honey Badger leading the charge. Worth mentioning that the size of the rally is actually capped based on the structure you're rallying. The Sky Altar, I believe, limits you to a 1.5 million rally, and the Shrine of War and Shrine of Life, a 1,000 troop rally. Taking a sip of water, over 130 people watching the stream, watching the insane, crazy T5 action as another rally enters into play. But is it going to the Desert Altar? I don't think it is. They've got their sights set further down to the field on the Shrine of War, and that's an interesting objective to hit. Meanwhile, some amount of swarming on this Desert Altar. They're attacking more as individuals than as a cohesive unit. There we go. Now multiple armies going in. Yet again, a moment where Yi Seong-Ye would be completely bananas. Have we mentioned that we're working on Yi Seong-Ye? because we're working on Isongye. In general, AoE is serious value in the Ark of Osiris, and this match proves to be no exception at all. And I don't think we've seen a single Isongye rocking an expertise skill anyways in the battlefield. I'm hearing a call out. Let's see here. Someone is saying obelisk. Is there action at the obelisk? Let's zip on over and see. Oh, yes, there is. The 120 million power player porting in. And now you can see the significance of having so many gosh darn troops. They started the match with 120 million power. They're down to 112 million power, which means they've taken 8 million damage in troop power. And they have enough troops to fill all 5 armies with a 50% expansion still, which is pretty darn insane. I don't know how you deal with such a powerful player. Whew. Question in the chat, is CPO good for starting? I think CPO's fine. I'd probably focus my attention on Boudica to get value from battling barbarians. Meanwhile, more blue cities porting in. This is a tough situation to be in. One red city burning, and it is the City Hall 23 player city, which, like, you know, look, that's who I'd hit first too. Pretty soon, these 25s are going to draw a lot of attention. And, you know, I like the strategy of having one T5 player try to hold down this side. It turned out to not quite be enough. Legend Ronnie, celebrity, the man, the myth, the legend, making an appearance in the chat. What's going on, my friend? Looks like Ronnie's got a favorite in MFLD. What is going on, my friend? Good to see you here. Would love to hear the backstory, if there is one, in your supporting MFLD. In the meantime, a lot of crazy stuff happening on the screen. Legend Ronnie rooting for Misfit Lion King. Indeed, who'd have thought 120 million power can go a long way in the Ark of Osiris by percentage? What is that? What is that? I mean, it's like 1/9 of what they brought to the battlefield. So like 12%, 11% of the total force in this single player. Whoo! Holy moly. Garam saying, Cabo, you're here too. Sleep. I believe, Garam, you're from our kingdom, right? Right? Legend Ronnie is apparently a fan of how Misfit Lion King has arranged his kingdom. I'd be eager to hear what is that arrangement? What does that situation look like? In the meantime, another city burning. The next city I'd probably be burning is this one. Before, if you're feeling greedy, hunting the T5 player with a rally. Ooh. It's Dadpool. What is going on, man? Good to see you in the chat. Welcome, my friend. Dan MJ. Bro, thank you. I followed your jumper guide with great results. Love to hear that. Results with the jumper guide. Meanwhile, the scene here is looking a little bit bleak as yet another city ported out from burning. You know, at this point, I suppose you try to maximize your individual points, do some battling. If you're in blue, you could rally these cities, or at this point, you might say, let's just swarm them. Meanwhile, some opportunistic attacks from Maximus, although I don't know, I would get those troops right back into your city, my friend, because you are now getting swarmed, and you could do a lot of damage to some attackers that are swarming you. Legend Ronnie saying he likes the placement of the Alliance and mobilizing players to teleport outside of Alliance territory. Okay. All right. Well, this Ark of Osiris is all but over. We've got perhaps some fun things we can watch, enjoying the tail end of things. Shrine of Life, is this a rally? Might have been. It's converted now. At this point, I don't know that you need the healing speed. I would not be using my healing speed ups at this stage in the battle. No siree. And another rally coming in on the Sky Altar. Gonna be some big blows dealt here. That said, Red can defend this side more than they can defend any other part of the map, so perhaps they've got a full group here and reinforcements that they can bring. I don't see any reinforcements coming as the rally arrives at its target, starting to do work. It looks like we've got Richard I leading the rally, which somebody help me out. Why are people using Richard I to lead rallies? It does not make any sense to me at all. What is going on? Richard I with the defense tree is fine, but then you need the infantry tree, and that's sort of suboptimal compared to using someone with the leadership tree and then the attack tree for effortless, right? I know that an infantry rally is beast, but this is not an infantry rally. It's a mixed rally, which is why I'm perplexed. That is why I'm perplexed. This was a tough situation for ZoO. They were down on power. They fought well. I think they fought well. They just were brute forced here. And, I say they were just brute forced. The strategy was also strong on the part of Blue playing the role of aggressor. They said, we are the aggressor. They acted as the aggressor. And they capitalized on the fact that they had the power edge, and they used that to really force the hand here of ZoO. So I think they played well, but I don't know what they could have done in this power disparity. I don't know what they could have done in this power disparity. The only minor tweak I would have made is perhaps instead of sending that march to this far altar, focusing in on the closer one right over here. That would have been a little bit easier to support, sort of. I mean, it's equidistant, I think, from where their cities were. Maybe it's a little further, but not that much. Meanwhile, Swarm going in on the Shrine of War, trying to take it down, but you can see here, AoE getting big value. 3 targets means 3 times the rage gen, and it looks like the secondary commander is Bybars, so getting even more tornado AoE action. Looks like this was originally a rally, and it has been pretty substantially reduced in fighting power. At the same time, rally still going on over here. All those players that were outside of the rally must have supported it, because I don't know where else they would have gone. Meanwhile, oof, yeah, that's tough. That is tough. All right, my friends. Well, I think we have reached the tail end of this Ark of Osiris. It is super late for us, so I think we're going to head out from here. We're going to make our way to bed. I really enjoyed watching this Ark of Osiris. Thank you very much, ZoO, for having us. I can say from experience, an Ark of Osiris defeat feels really tough. Our defeat came when we had a power advantage, but had just been at war, and so we didn't have any troops. But there's no shame in a loss when you are at a power disadvantage and there's a 120 million power player on the other side. I think you fought well. Learn from what took place. And I look forward to catching up more later to hear kind of what your strategy was and how you sort of feel it evolved. All right, my friends. Until next time, we've got more spicy stuff coming. You should check out, by the way, you should check out the war video we just put on our channel, and like and subscribe if you haven't already. I will see you later, and you have fun smashing the kingdom.